Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? And my camera, I don't like the angle. Oh my goodness. Well, I can take these off now. I needed these just for the intro so that the music wasn't, you know, feedbacking back. But I had to switch my whole setup. And hello, Nate and Julian. If you didn't check it out, you need to check it out. If you go to Libertarian Party Official, and there's a show on there called LPTV, or like a sub channel, I guess you'd say, called LPTV. I now have a regular show there called Unconventional. It will be every other Tuesday at 7 Mountain, where I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of becoming a convention delegate. National convention delegate, and not just becoming a national convention delegate, but becoming a good national convention delegate. So each episode is going to build on the other, and it's going to start out very basic, so that there'll come a point where people who just want the basics, they don't need to watch the rest. But as it goes, it will get more and more into very specifics, very inside baseball, with the last ones being, assuming people, because it's going to go through the next year, that at the point where people are either fairly sure they're going to be a delegate or they've been chosen as a delegate already, we are going to get into nitty-gritties of Roberts. We're going to do a lot of things. We'll go over the platform committee report. We'll go over the bylaws committee report. We'll talk about a lot of things. Maybe I'll have guests of the platform committee chair or in the bylaws committee chair. Right now, I'm the interim platform committee chair, so I could talk about that a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to be the permanent platform committee chair or not. So yeah, go check that out. I'm very excited about it. I will be rebroadcasting the episodes on my own channel, but probably not till they've been on LPTV for like a month. So to let LPTV, who's sponsoring it, get all of the initial views. And then I'll eventually put them on my channel as well, because I never trust what the LP is going to do, and I want to make sure they're preserved here. Plus, if they try another political assassination attempt again and decide, you know, I can't continue, I'll just continue on my own channel. That's the great thing about having my own channel. Because the funny thing is, I was already working on this series and setting everything up at the time that those suspension motions came. So I was like, great. You know, what's going to happen with that? So it was just all silly. And I've got something actually to tell you on the LP front. But before then, let's see here. I want to pull up, as usual, Patreon. If you enjoy what I do, particularly all this LP stuff, please come and become a patron if you can. I realize not everyone can, and that is perfectly fine as well. But if you can, please exercise the libertarian principle of voluntary support. There is bonus content on the Patreon channel. I go through books. I'm finishing up Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, 1972. Got, I think, 3 more chapters to do, and after that, we're going to dive into Radicals for Capitalism. And from what I understand, that's like the magnum opus of the beginning of the entire, like, American libertarian movement. It's a giant book, but from what I understand, it's fantastic. So we will be doing that. I, though, want to remove this. I have, believe it or not, my very first product sponsor. Okay? I met this gentleman, Sean Dempsey, at PorkFest, where he had a table, and he asked if I would be interested promoting his book on my channel. And I'm not normally looking for sponsors, though it's funny, it seems like all the libertarian like podcasters or YouTubers all seem to sponsor underwear like Dave Smith and Sheath, but there isn't, I guess, pockets for lady bits. But you know, hook me up, Sheath. I'll advertise your underwear. I won't pose in it though, like Dave Smith did. That was a nice picture, but I'm much older than Dave Smith. But here is the book from Sean Dempsey. It's a children's book, A Tale of Two Brothers. I don't have kids myself, but the kids that this is the age range for, which I think is about 6 to 12, I'll have to look at my notes, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said. Those are the types of kids I like talking to. Because like kids at that age are interesting. And they're so open-minded. But so I took this book and I read it and I loved it. I wasn't sure if I was going to accept the sponsorship or not, because my audience isn't necessarily, it's not kids, but there's parents. But most kids' books honestly suck. This book is fantastic. Now I'm going to read the copy he sent me, but then I'm going to tell you about it myself because I did read it. So he says, the book is called A Tale of Two Brothers and subtitled Dare to Live. He wrote this children's book during the heavy-handed government lockdowns after being inspired by Tom Woods and his accurate portrayal of people choosing merely to survive in 2020 versus choosing to actually live. It's a liberty-oriented children's book geared at kids between 4 and 12. It's beautifully illustrated, which it is. I'll show you some of it. The concept and moral of the story is easy to understand. Is it enough to merely survive or to live and take certain risks in life in order to enjoy life? I'm going to give some of his other points in the in a future episode, but I want to tell you my first impressions when I read the book. For one thing, the illustrations are lovely. Like, I want to show you, like, I just loved the two in the beginning. I'm going to show you the two in the beginning. So there are the two brothers. And I just think those pictures are so adorable. And it's like, immediately, I liked both of the kids, you know, and here's them as they're getting a little older, you know, and you kind of expect the kid with the glasses to be the one to hold back, but it's actually the kid with the glasses that goes off on an adventure. So it's Peter and Dante. Peter is the older one without the glasses, and Dante is the younger brother with the glasses. So because I'm not going to be spoiling the story for the readership, this is for the parents. It basically, Peter, you know, wants his brother to stay with him and them to stay safe at home and just live this shelter life, but Dante wants to live life. And he goes out into the world and has all kinds of adventures, and Peter is mad at him and doesn't talk to him or whatever. And the book talks about all of Dante's adventures, and at the end, Dante comes back home to visit his brother, who's still scared and all of that. And soon after visiting his brother, Dante passes away, having lived a very full life. Peter lives on for many, many years. But the question that's left at the end, did Peter really live? He stayed holed up in his little hut. Meanwhile, Dante had a family, he had adventures, he climbed mountains, he did all kinds of things. So there's a speech here from Dante that I thought was really good. And in the world of helicopter parents, I fear we are teaching kids that life is just merely like biological life, that it's not living. So here's what Dante said to his brother. Life is about more than keeping breath in our lungs. I risked experiencing life. I risked sadness in order to attain great joy. I risked my pride in order to gain respect. I risked failure, fear, and doubt so that I might achieve success. With each step up a mountain, I risked falling that I may reach the top. One risks losing everything that matters when he chooses to risk nothing at all. Choose life, brother. Do not sacrifice life on the altar of living. And there's this picture of Dante in one of his adventures climbing a mountain. And of course, Peter didn't listen. And, you know, goes on to show all the family at Dante's funeral when he finally passed away. And it said, Peter stayed in his hut and mourned the loss of his brother. Peter lived on for many long years. A long life indeed did Peter have. But was it a life? Fantastic book. And at first when I was done, I was like, that's a little dark, you know, it's a little dark for kids. But then I thought about the type of stories I read as kids. I mean, some of our most beloved fairy tales and stuff, you want to talk about dark, but the fact is you have to introduce children to the point of life. You can't shelter them from the fact that we're not going to be here forever. And what do you want to do with the very limited time we have? So obviously, I'm pretty jazzed up about this book. I loved it. So if you have kids or you've got nieces and nephews like I do, or other children in your life that you care about, it is available on Amazon. And you can also go to a Tale to Brothers, not Tale of, it's tale2brothers.com, and you can get to Amazon from there. So I'll be talking about this book quite a bit in upcoming shows. I'm very pleased that is my first product sponsorship. But I have to be honest with you, he did pay to place an ad, but I would have talked about it without getting paid, to be honest with you. And it's very reasonable. And in fact, I wanted to offer this to everybody. I want to promote people's Liberty works, be it Liberty Art, another Liberty YouTube show, a Liberty podcast, or whatever. So for my patrons that are at the $20 a month level and up, I will be writing my current patrons that are at that level. I'll promote a product of your choice as long as it's liberty oriented, and or even if it's not liberty oriented, that your business is very libertarian, I'll promote it. So if that's something you're interested in and you're already a $20 a month patron or above, let me know. If not, sign up and I will help do what I can to help liberty programs, liberty businesses thrive. I think we all kind of have an obligation to the community for that. So that's something I wanted to do. So now you know what I charge to promote this as well. I'm a very small channel, so it's very reasonable, but I hope I do have a dedicated following. So now we are talking about, the LNC thing. I wanted to let you know. I can't name names right now. And I'm not saying I'm going to in the future. But things may be worse than I actually thought. You guys know that I'm absolutely convinced that the people who, tried to suspend me, that it was a retaliation for being a whistleblower. I heard from credible sources that I am not at liberty to disclose that while that may have been the excuse at the time, that actually some, and I'm saying some because it's not everybody, that some on the list of people that voted for me actually had been plotting and setting me up to be removed for a year, is what I was told. Now stop for a second. When was convention in 2020? It was exactly a year ago. So, you mean immediately after I was elected by the delegates who like my attitude, certain members of the LNC were already plotting to set me up to be removed? That's even more corrupt than trying to get rid of a whistleblower. And the person I heard this from, I believe them. I don't know what's worse. That certain very minority members were trying to remove me immediately after the delegates chose me. I suggest you privately ask people you might be considering supporting. Don't send an email to the whole LNC. I'm tired of the dramas. All it does lately is just cause people to come against me. But find out for yourself. Again, because I'm not telling you how I know this or who I heard it from. Investigate for yourself and decide for yourself what is worse. Trying to remove a whistleblower or immediately trying to overturn the will of the delegates. Immediately after election. Before I'd even had chance to do anything to get anyone angry. There's a libertarian swamp, folks, and it needs to be drained. Okay, let me go to comments before we start on the political compass quiz. And thank you guys for saying unconventional is good to watch. Diana, I would like more details. What do you mean about ignoring members? I have to be completely honest. I've been very distracted lately. I had a bunch of LPCO stuff to take care of and filming for unconventional. So I've been somewhat disconnected from the list ever since the election of Whitney. I took care of that and then I immediately had to turn my attention elsewhere. So I haven't seen her ignoring members, but I would love to hear your input. I did write you back earlier today about the webinar mode. And if you'd like to discuss that here, I'd love to discuss it with you. And I've never read the Tuttle Twins, but I think I'm going to now, Kenny, now that I've read this book. Yeah, Kenny, losing to delegates at convention is something I could deal with. Not that it wouldn't suck, but listen, when you run for election, just like this book says, when you live, you risk losing. You risk everything in order to actually live. When you run for a position, you risk losing. And you can deal with that as long as it was fair and square. But, yeah. And it is very personal. If this started immediately after I was elected, because immediately after I was elected, things were not confrontational at all on the LNC. Somebody didn't like me. And we all know who promised to keep me from getting elected was Nick Sarwark. He promised me that. He threatened me prior to the 2020 convention that he would do everything he could to make sure I wasn't elected, which is why he spoke for my opponent. And I think he actually hurt Evan. but he didn't succeed. And he's been very butthurt about that since. He's still all upset that the suspension motions didn't pass. So who do I think was behind ultimately trying to get rid of me? That's who I think. I don't know that. Nobody said that to me. And again, I can't tell you who I heard this from. But I trust the information. And don't assume, and I want to say here, don't assume everyone who was involved with that suspension motion was involved. Just don't make any kind of assumptions like that, because from what I heard, they all weren't. But some of them were. Okay, so Diana said, let me put this up on the screen. I sent emails to her once she lost. Our email, I'm not trying to make excuses. You know that I just try to be extraordinarily fair. Our email system for the member emails is kind of wonky. There's a very good chance she didn't get it because we have them duplicating sometimes and then sometimes just getting lost. So I don't know, but I'm just saying it's not unheard of. And if you feel ignored, it doesn't matter what she thinks. If you feel ignored, then that's a problem. You know, because it's almost like the customer is always right. The members, how the members feel is real. Now with webinar mode, you know what? Can we talk? Let's talk about I'm going to do a show tomorrow night on another RCB demonstration of a much less controversial ballot we did, because I have a feeling a lot of people may not have been paying attention to the whatchamacallit, the RCV demo I did for the chair thing, because everyone was so emotional about the chair thing, understandably. So we did a RCV ballot on where our next meeting will be, so something that none of us are going to get up in our feels about. So I'm going to do and it went 3 rounds, I think. It was 3 or 4. So I want to do another RCV demonstration. NOTA wasn't an issue. There isn't any of those issues that we had. So I'm going to do that tomorrow. And remind me, we'll talk about the webinar mode tomorrow, since we'll be talking about all LNC stuff, if that's a good thing. Okay. Onto the political compass. I'm going to be doing on different shows a bunch of these political tests. I haven't done them in a long time. We're also going to be doing the very fun political Kaplan political purity test. You could tell by the title of it, it's just for fun. We're going to be doing that one as well. But I want to pull this up first. And I have the camera angle here. It's the one from the side, so y'all can see my studio while we're going over this thing. Okay, so you see my little side view here. The light ring kind of is blurring out everything. And you can see the mic. I need to, this mic thing's not working out. It keeps collapsing. I'm putting something on my Amazon wish list for the channel that's a good ceiling mic mount that I need so bad. But let's look at this. I found this article while I was looking up the political compass thing. So I figured let's look at the criticisms of the political compass test. So the article isn't mincing words. It says the political compass test is garbage. In theory, it's a decent but flawed idea. I remember the last time I took it, I wish I saved the screenshot. I believe I got about 3 squares up from the bottom and over to the right 2 or 3 squares, which doesn't really jive right with me. I don't think I'm to the right of the center square at all, or center line. My personal sense of my own politics is center left, but according to this test, I'm center right. I don't agree with that. But so let's see if this article gives some answers. Okay, it's talking about the presidential election. So whatever. The political compass test is the worst quiz, allegedly. Okay. Let me go to the next page. The popular and often mocked test asks users a handful of questions. Blah, blah, blah. So it says, in theory, it's a good idea, but the execution is downright atrocious. The quiz doesn't allow neutrality on a topic or no opinion. I didn't remember that. I thought it did allow no opinion. That is a problem. This is a problem because not everyone knows enough on a topic to have a hard stance, or they don't care. Okay? Most of the questions are either loaded or completely irrelevant, while huge political topics are completely ignored. And Nate Stevens asks, aren't you an ANCAP? Yes, indeed, I am. I remember this question, and I did think this question was bullshit. So it says the quiz starts off with this. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. If one believes globalization, notice how in the question it's spelled with an S, but in this article it's spelled with a Z. So I guess the article is written from more of a British perspective. If one believes globalization makes life better for both sides, they see no conflict. And I remember feeling that myself when I took this test, probably 2 years ago. It's been a couple of years. So another way, and he says the abortion ones, it's not properly nuanced. And it says it ignores some of the biggest issues of the day. Okay, so let's look at the next page. I'm just kind of summarizing this article. Okay, and this author says he got put on the libertarian left. He says it's inaccurate. He's not a secret Bernie bro. Okay. So this doesn't really get into it a whole lot. Just says that the questions aren't properly nuanced and there's not enough options. And I think I would agree with that from remembering what I took last time. Going to the next page. It says, I think, though, he's talking about other tests on this other page. Like, the I side with test sucks. But we'll probably be taking that, too. Okay. This article just said what I already knew. All right. Let's go back here, then. And let me close out my little reader here and close this. Okay, so we're gonna take it. I'll drink to that. I got some Red's hard apple. And you guys, even though I do encourage everyone to go to YouTube because it helps my algorithm, if you want to share, if you're going to take it with me, if you want to share what you get and post images in the stream of this on my personal page, maybe we'll take a look at a couple because you can't post images in chat. But let me go to this screen. Let me see if I can... I don't know. I think I'm going to have to close the chat here and just read it out because I think that will obscure. So let me pull up the quiz. Where did I put it? Okay, hold on. I thought I had it pulled up, but I think I closed that window by accident. So political compass test. Here we go. All right, so I need to share my screen. Okay. Let me see if I can make that screen a little bigger. Okay, I'm moving it over. And let me see. Is this better? Yeah, this is better. Okay. Before taking the test, please note it isn't a survey and these aren't questions. They certainly seem to be questions to me. Okay, well, alrighty then. They're propositions. Okay. To question the logic of individual ones that irritate you is to miss the point. Don't tell me what to do. If I want to question the logic because I'm irritated, I will do so. Some propositions are extreme and some are moderate. That's how we can show you where you lean towards extremism or moderation. I am the extremist that Facebook warned you about. By the way, all of my posts on Twitter now are getting marked as dangerous. Even my ones about the LNC. The web page is politicalcompass.org/test. I'm sorry, I didn't give that. I thought everyone like takes these all the time, so I kind of just that's the thing now. Politicalcompass.org/test. Okay, so it's 6 pages of questions, and we're going to talk about them because I want to explain my answers. Yeah, and there is no neutral. There should be I don't give a fuck right in the middle, don't you think? All right, if economic globalization is inevitable, and I do think it is, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Actually, I feel differently about this question than the last time I took it. I have come to a different position on corporations than the last time I took this. I do not believe corporations are libertarian. And that is a somewhat of a left position, though I think my arguments are just libertarian arguments. So I obviously don't think the interests of transnational corporations should ever be served. So I am going to strongly agree that it should serve humanity. I would always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. I do not even need to think about this. I strongly disagree. No one chooses their country of birth, so is foolish to be proud of it. What does it mean by it? Does it mean being proud you were born there, or proud of your country? You could be proud of your country for a lot of reasons other than the fact you were born there. They could have done something really great. But I'm thinking the way they worded this, they mean being proud of being an American just because you were born here, rather than because America did something that you're proud of. So I will strongly agree. I don't think there's anything to be proud of that you popped out of a vagina at a certain longitude and latitude. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Strongly disagree. That is, yeah, no. No, that's very collectivist. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, they can be. It's not always. That can be a very dangerous position. But it doesn't say always or not. So I'm just going to disagree. Because it can be. Sometimes they hate the person you hate for the same reasons you hate. This would have been a neutral for me too, Kenny, if neutral was an option. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I have to admit, I'm not all that educated on international military law. From the little I know about it, I tend to agree with it because it has to do with being against torture. Yeah, and I don't believe in international law either. I'm just going to say disagree. I'm not going to say strongly because I don't know everything that's encompassed here. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. No. Okay, this is a weird question because I understand what could be worrying if the information is a type of propaganda, but it doesn't say propaganda in entertainment. It says information. And I don't worry about information being fused with entertainment. People learn better. I'm going to disagree. That's just a weird question. I think they mean propaganda, but it doesn't say propaganda. Okay, next page. People are ultimately divided more by class than nationality. I strongly agree with that. I think that is, in fact, the more natural division and the one that causes stress. Okay. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I don't see, this question is nonsensical to me as an anarchist, because I don't think anybody should be controlling either of them. So I guess I have to put on my statist hat, and I would say inflation steals from everybody. So I would agree that inflation is worse than unemployment. Okay. Because corporations, well, just forget about that, because I don't believe corporations are libertarian. But do they require regulation? You want to know what? I'm going to say, oh, my anarchist friends are just, I am getting hot. Do you see me scratch? It's funny. A lot of you don't know this. If you ever see me like going like this or like this, I don't like being put on the spot. It's really weird. I don't like debate. I don't like confrontation. I know people think I do because I will get confrontational if I think it's the right thing to do. But I literally break out in hives, and I'm getting nervous by these questions, and I'm starting to break out. Isn't that weird? Oh my God, I'm getting hives. Okay, particularly because I'm thinking I'm going to have to agree about regulation. And that just makes me want to puke in my mouth. But I don't trust corporations, and they're not people. They are creatures of the state, so they deserve the state. I'm going to strongly agree here, because let the state fuck the state, kind of. Ooh, that kind of kills me, though, because I don't like I'm just going to forget about that, get that out of sight. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Strongly disagree. I know at one point there's a lot of people who are very fond of saying communism looks good on paper. No, it doesn't even look good on paper. It's evil on paper. It's fundamentally evil. So, strongly disagree. The freer the market, the freer the people. Strongly agree. That one was easy. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Strongly disagree. I mean, food is basic, and we're not... Why are they elevating water? I actually like the fact that I have a bottled water product, because things coming out of those nasty-ass drinking fountains that people suck their lips on and shit, I'm glad that we have bottled water. So, nope, I'm going to disagree there. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Strongly disagree. It is a scarce resource. Well, at least certain land is a scarce resource. And the only way you can have a just allocation of scarce resources is for there to be ownership. I want to qualify this, though, because I don't agree with the Georgists that land in abstract is a scarce resource. We are not running out of land on this planet. We're running out of land that people find desirable, beachfront property or whatever. But in general, it's not a scarce resource. And in fact, we could seastead the oceans. I'm not going to get into Georgism here, but I strongly disagree. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. I'm not sure what they mean by manipulate money. Are they doing it ethically, or do they just mean are playing the stock market? So I'm going to disagree, because I don't know what they mean by manipulate. And I would disagree that they contribute nothing, because people who make money contribute a lot to society. Even people who make money unethically buy products and support businesses. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Strongly disagree. That was an easy one. The only social... Yeah, they are doing business as synonymous with corporation. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Well, companies don't all have shareholders. They're talking about corporations. And I think corporations... I think everybody, even though it can't be enforced, has social responsibility. So I'm going to strongly disagree. The rich are too highly taxed. Everyone is too highly taxed. So I am going to agree. Though I know that's going to shift me over to the right, because what they're not understanding that my basis for this is that everybody is too highly taxed. But I know this is going to shift me to the right when it shouldn't. Those with the ability to pay should have higher standards of access to higher standards. What do they mean by higher standards? Do they mean more expensive medical care? Yeah. Higher standards, though, I'm just going to agree, because if you can pay for something that costs more, then you're going to have access to it. And you should. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. I don't believe in governments. However, if we're going to have governments, one of their legitimate roles is to enforce against fraud, so I will strongly agree. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals, well, you're loading the question by calling them predators, to create monopolies. It doesn't say corporations, but I think he means corporations. I don't believe in anti-monopoly law, so I'm going to strongly disagree. Not sure if that's the right answer for me. Disagree just might be, but because I don't oppose monopolies, because there's natural monopolies. Not all monopolies are artificial. I have a natural monopoly on the things that I can do. Like, I have a natural monopoly on the content of this podcast. No one else could do it exactly, or YouTube show, the way I can, because there's only one me. Okay. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. I answered this different in the past. I am going to disagree, because I believe in abortion in the case of rape, because the woman did not consent. That's not nuanced enough. Okay. All authority should be questioned. Can we get an amen? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That is so loaded. Because this is misunderstood. It's a quote from the Bible. And the Bible, in that quote, is not saying you must take an eye for an eye. It is saying it's dealing with proportionality, that you can't take more, you can't punish more than the crime. And proportionality is a libertarian thing, but mercy is also a Christian thing. Okay, I'm going to agree. It's a death penalty dog whistle? I don't know, because I also think it can go for other things, so I'm just going to agree. Because to me, coming from my biblical background, it's talking about proportionality. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums, I strongly agree, that cannot survive on a commercial basis. That's easy. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Strongly agree. Ooh, my God, this next question is gross. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Who the fuck wrote this? Hitler? Strongly disagree. Gross. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Oh. Okay, I'm going to irritate a lot of libertarians here. I would be neutral on this. I don't believe in very, very young children. Sometimes the only thing they understand is pain. But children, that can mean 6, 7, 8 years old. I know people, boo, I get it. I am generally a proponent of peaceful parenting. And the comment that I made had to dealt with very, very, very young children who are below any rationality. So I am going to just disagree, because too much children encompasses way, way, way too much. And once you can reason with a child, you shouldn't be spanking them. Let's see here. It's natural for children to keep, of course, it's natural for children to keep secrets. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Right, Diana, you should never be hitting a 50. I think once you can reason with a child, you shouldn't be touching them. But an unreasonable child that is about to do something that could hurt them, I'm sorry, I don't have an issue with that when they're unreasoning. And I know that's not the pure libertarian position. Possession of marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Strongly agree. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Oof. I'm going to agree, but I actually don't think it's my business. But in the majority of the case, I think we are failing in that regard. So, okay. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed. Strongly disagree. Now, perhaps they might want to make the reasonable decision not to reproduce, but there shouldn't be a law. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Fuck off. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. This can be taken so many different ways. Do they mean inherently savage people? There are savage cultures. So I think what it's saying is that there are no people who are inherently savage, and I agree with that. But this question seems to imply like an equality of cultures, and there's not. I'm sorry, cannibalism is not equal to non-cannibalism. But those people aren't inherently cannibalists. So, because I do smell Hitler on this question, I am going to strongly agree, because racism is gross. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Strongly agree. I don't think anybody should expect society's support anyway, but definitely if you can take care of yourself. When you are troubled, It is better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. What the fuck does that have to do with politics? Strongly disagree. Yep, Kelly is quoting the Bible. He who shall not work shall not eat. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their country. Well, I'm not a big fan of full integration to begin with. So, how do I answer this question? I'm going to disagree because that's such a collectivist statement. I don't know. And I don't care. What's good for the most successful corporations is ultimately good for all of us. Fuck off. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly agree. Those were easy. Okay, page 4. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Strongly agree. What? A significant advantage of a one-party state, I think Hitler's back, is that it avoids all the arguments that delay. I'm sorry. I need to take a drink. This question's just making me laugh. That delay progress in a democratic political system. How can you have a one-party state in a democratic political system? Disagree. Strongly. Oh, another fuck off. Although the electronic age makes... We need a fuck off here, don't we? Definitely needs a go fuck off here. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Fuck off. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Fuck off. In a civilized society, one must always have people to be above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Fuck off. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Fuck off. Who am I to tell you what art is? In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Strongly disagree. I think it needs to be both. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. I disagree. Now, I know that some people will disagree with me here, but a lot of this comes from my Christian background and believing that every human being is an image bearer of God. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Disagree. Collectivist bullshit. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. That's up to them. Why do I even have an opinion on this? I shouldn't even have an opinion on this. I'm just gonna disagree. I'm not a mother, and why do people have an opinion? Multinational companies, I'm assuming they mean corporations, so I'm going to agree that they exploit, because corporations are inherently exploitative, in my opinion. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I am going to give the most immature answer possible and say, fuck off. Okay, next. Astrology accurately explains many things. No. Sorry. No. I can tell you why I think so if anyone's curious, but you cannot be moral without being religious. Disagree. You can be moral without being religious. I don't think you have a grounding for it, but that's okay. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Agree. Ooh, what does this have to do with politics? Some people are naturally unlucky. Okay. What does this have to do with politics? Y'all are just going to freak out because I'm a little bit like mystical. I actually agree that some people are naturally unlucky. But I don't know if I strongly agree. But I've known some people that are unlucky. So I'm just going to agree. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. Now, this is weird. I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I would want them, but not a public school because I don't believe in public schools. Faith, I am a bit of a determinist, so maybe that's why I think that. Well, if I had a kid, I would want their school to instill religious values, but I wouldn't want them to instill religious values on kids whose parents didn't share my religious values. Don't like that question. 6 of 6. Finally, a look at sex. Oh, I want to drink to that. There's no pictures, though. How can you look at sex with no pictures? Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Strongly disagree. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly agree. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Strongly agree. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Strongly disagree. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly disagree. Okay, I think I answered these easier than I did in the past. So I think I've become more extremist, which doesn't displease me. So let's see where I stand. What do you guys think? I still think it's going to be a couple clicks over to the right because of like that religion question. But obviously in the libertarian quadrant, probably a couple steps up from the bottom. So let's see. I don't want to, I already understand it. Where am I? Yep, I guessed it. It put me to the right. I don't know how it put me to the right with my anti-corporation views. Probably because of the land and the water questions. Like, because I'm free market, because I think everything should be bought and sold. That must be what it is. Probably if I answered those corporation questions more, it would have pushed me further to the right. So, okay, well, I'm going to screen capture this. And I'd be curious as to where I'll post this in my thread. And yes, in the UK, a libertarian is different than a US libertarian, but they did try to make this worldwide. Libertarian in Europe is an ANCOM. Faith, if you are a personal friend on Facebook, this is being streamed on my personal Facebook page, and you can post your screenshot there. If you're not a Facebook friend, send me a friend request. Okay, well, I'll be curious how everyone else got. Strangely enough, now let me go back to my full screen. I don't remember when I last took this. It might have been even more than 2 years ago. I used to be super paranoid about Facebook, which I probably should still be, and I used to delete all of my posts after a month. Like every day I'd go back a month and delete everything. Jay North did that to me. So I can't even go back and look through my posted pictures to see the last time I posted this. So this is going back more than 2 years. When was Jay chair of Colorado? So we had Victoria for 2 years. We had Wayne for... How long have I been a libertarian? Since 2014. September 2014. So I might as well just say it's September now. 7 years. We're going back at least maybe 5 years that I've taken this test. Which means right after I became an anarchist. No, not right after, because I became an anarchist within 10 months. So like within a year of me becoming an anarchist. And my position's still pretty much the same on there. Though I answered questions differently, they've evened out. Like I answered the abortion question differently back then. I answered the corporations question differently. It didn't hardly change. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, while we're here, let's do the Kaplan one for shits and giggles. If you guys have never taken this one, it's a lot of fun. Let me go find it. So I think it's called the Kaplan Purity Test. Kaplan Libertarian Purity Test. Because this one assumes you're a libertarian. Oh, I can't find it. Maybe it's not up anymore. Aha! Brian Kaplan. I don't think it's up anymore. It was such a fun test. Libertarian quiz, maybe? Oh, I would be so sad if this doesn't exist. Oh, here it goes. Libertarian Purity Test. Brian Kaplan. I spelled his name wrong. Spelled it with a K. Okay. This one's a lot of fun. So, I'll let you know the address. So let's go here. Okay, Libertarian Purity Test, Brian Kaplan. As you can see up on the bar, it's bkaplan.com. You can see the address up there. But if you just search for Brian with a Y, Kaplan with a C, Libertarian Purity Test, you can get to it. So, this is fun. And I'm going to go through the comments before starting this test. This is the Libertarian Purity Test, which is intended to measure how libertarian you are. It is not intended to be any sort of McCarthyite purging device. Just a form of entertainment, hopefully thought-provoking. I like it a lot more than the famous World Shores political quiz because I haven't stated the questions with any intent to give an upward bias to a test taker's score, and because it gives a clearer breakdown between hard and soft-core libertarians. Enjoy, suggest your friends try it out and see how you compare. A note on meaning. The word privatized is used throughout, means that a given government service is henceforth supplied by the free market and paid for by consumers. It is distinguished from subcontracting, in which the government uses tax money to hire a private firm to provide a government service. Okay. I'm going to go through comments, but I want to tell you, the first time I took this test, I remember, because I had just joined the Radical Caucus, and I felt like the token moderate at the Radical Caucus. It's funny, because I'm more radical than most of the radicals at the Radical Caucus right now. Kenny will tell you I am speaking the truth. He's going to go preach it, sister, particularly some in leadership. But when I first joined the Radical Caucus, I joked that I was the token moderate because I was so moderate. I was invited to the Radical Caucus for one reason and one reason only. I was debating with, Capozzi, Bob Capozzi on Independent Political Report, and I called him a pompous ass. So Mark Montoni invited me to the Radical Caucus because he said I was such a good judge of character. So my ticket to the Radical Caucus was calling Bob Capozzi an ass, a pompous ass, which he is. And they radicalized me at the Radical Caucus. And oddly enough, Susan Hogarth was a huge influence on me, but she has become less radical, a rhino, in my opinion. And I've become too radical for the Radical Caucus. For most people. I'm not more radical than Mark Montoni, though. Mark Montoni is hardcore. Mark Montoni is one of my freaking heroes. I love that man in a platonic way. Okay, let's go back to some of these comments because I think I went through most of them while I was talking, but I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Richard Brown says, I imagine Whitney is rather busy getting up to speed his chair right now, and personal replies to member emails is necessarily having to take a back seat for the time being. That is fair, Richard. That very well may be the case. There can only be one Libertarian Highlander, so who am I going to have to kill after taking this test? Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Let me move me over here. And now let's go. Yeah, Kenny, let me put this up here. You are right. You are so right. If you told an outsider a co-founder of the LPRC is on the LNC, the outsider would guess it was you. That is correct. I think if anyone were to name radicals on the LNC, just by performance, without knowing any of their history, the two actual members of the Radical Caucus would not be named. And people who aren't members of the Radical Caucus, including myself, would be. Okay. Let's go take this test now. Are taxes too high? Yes. Is government spending too high? Yes. Are we overregulated? Yes. These are easy. Are you for free trade? Yes. Should the minimum wage be abolished? Yes. I need a fuck yes. Should rent control be abolished? Yes. These are easy. I haven't taken this test in forever. Are zoning laws too strict? Yes. Do we spend too much on Medicare? Yes. Do we spend too much on Social Security? Yes. Should we privatize the post office? Yes. Would school vouchers be an improvement over government schools? Okay, I want to reflexively say yes, but I also think it's just furthering sucking on the government tit. But I'm going to say yes since it's only yes or no. Should we relax immigration laws? Yes. Same thing for housing vouchers with school vouchers. It's still encouraging the government tit. But out of yes or no, I'm going to put yes. Should the government sell off more of the public lands? Yes. Are worker safety regulations too strict? Yes. Does drug approval take too long? Yes. Do you think we spend too much on anti-poverty programs? Yes. Is occupational licensing too strict? Yes. Does the government spend too much on higher education? Why am I answering yes to everything? It's just like, yes, yes, yes. This is getting kinky. Does the Federal Reserve have too much discretionary power? Yes. Should marijuana be legalized? I'm in Colorado. That's a stupid question. Yes. Should all sex between consenting adults be legal, even for money? Yes. Do you believe in freedom of expression for books, newspapers, radio, television, the internet, and so on, even for offensive and unpopular views and subject matters? Yes, and that's become way more important since the last time I took this test. Should private clubs have sole authority to select their own members, even if they are discriminatory? Yes. Are you against national service? I don't even know what that means. Does that mean the military? What does that mean? I'm not against people volunteering, but I am against nations. So I'm going to answer yes, even though if we're going to have a nation, I'm not against people volunteering. Are you against the draft? Yes. Does the U.S. intervene too much in other countries? Yes. Should the military budget be cut? Yes. Should the U.S. refuse to pay for the defense of allies that are rich enough to defend themselves? Yes. If it has to fight a war, should the U.S. try harder to avoid civilian targets? Yes. Okay, and then there's a picture of Milton Friedman. Is this like saying the levels? Am I now at like Milton Friedman level, which to me is semi-libertarian? Should taxes be cut by... Oh, I see what they're doing. So they started just with general, is it too high? Is it too strict? And now they're going to get specific. So that first thing was Milton Friedman level. Okay, got it. What's this next level? I want to see who the next picture is. Ayn Rand. Okay, so now we're at the Ayn Rand level. Should taxes be cut by 50% or more? Yes. Should spending be cut by 50% or more? Yes. Would you abolish at least... is this all just like halvesies? Would you abolish at least half of existing federal regulatory agencies? Yes. Should we abolish antitrust law? Yes. Should we abolish public schools and universities? Yes. Get back there. Yes. Should we abolish welfare? Yes. Should we abolish Social Security? Yes. It's all yeses. Should we abolish... Did I answer no to anything? Should we abolish... Yes. Should all the public lands be privatized? Yes. Should we privatize sanitation, fire, and other local services? Yes. Should immigration laws be abolished? Yes. Should the FDA and medical licensing be abolished? Yes. Should all of the Federal Reserve's discretionary powers be eliminated and the monetary base frozen? What does it mean by frozen? I don't know what that means. But I do know what the first part means. So I'm going to answer yes, but I don't really know what that second part means. If there was an I don't know. Okay. Should we abolish worker safety regulation? If you're going to have regulation, but people should be able to choose to work dangerously if they want to, so I'm going to say yes. That made me think, though. Should the Supreme Court strike down economic regulation as unconstitutional? Yes. Should all drugs be legalized for adults? Fuck yes. Should anti-discrimination laws be abolished? Yes. Sorry, wokesters. Should the military budget be cut by at least 75%? Well, defense, if we're going to have a country, is legitimate. This doesn't say, well, I'm going to say yes because I know it's really bloated, but if there was an I don't know here, this would be I don't know. Should the U.S. withdraw completely from Europe, Asia, and other foreign bases? Yes. Is bombing civilians in an enemy country morally equivalent to murder? Oh. This question is no good. Because why are we bombing? Are we bombing in defense? And what was it avoidable? Like, did the foreign country use civilians as human shields? I know I'm like thinking, I can't that. There needs to be it depends. This question sucks. But generally, I don't think we've been in a defensive war ever. So I'm going to say yes. But that is a sucky question. Okay, well, who's this last thing? Now we're at Murray Rothbard. We're at the Murray Rothbard section. Okay. Should all taxes be abolished? Fuck yes. Should highways and roads be privatized? But who will build them? Yes. Should the Fed be abolished and replaced with free banking and privately issued money? The last time I took this, I don't even think Bitcoin was a thing. If it was, I didn't know about it. So that is funny. Prescient. Should all legislation be replaced by judge-made law arbitration? Yes. Is all government inherently evil? Okay. He's conflating terms here. And government is not equal to the state. But I think he's meaning it as equivalent to the state. I don't know what he means here. If he means government as properly defined, no. But he means the state here. I'm almost positive. So I'm going to put yes. But I think there's a definition problem here. Is government an unnecessary evil? Yes. Should police be privatized? Yes. Should courts be privatized? Yes. Should the law itself be privatized? Yes. Should state, but he says state here. Yeah, but look, yeah. Brian, you should have clarified up top what you meant by government. Should the state be disarmed and its military disbanded? Well, okay. This is another sucky question. Do you mean while it exists? If the state still exists and is monopolizing the right to defense, then no, its military should not be disbanded because it leaves everybody helpless. But considering that this is in the Rothbard section, I think he means in conjunction with allowing private defense. So I'm going to hit yes. Is it morally permissible to exercise vigilante justice even against government leaders? What does vigilante justice mean? No. I'm going to say no here. I don't believe in vigilante justice even in an anarchist society. Is all government essentially exploitation of the productive members of society? Yes. Should the state be abolished? See, he's using them interchangeably, but yes. Would you call yourself an anarcho-capitalist? Yes. Score test. I got one no, so I'm not going to be pure. My score is 155. Yeah, 160 is perfect. I think he's wrong. Oh, here's funny. 131 to 159. You are nearly a perfect libertarian with a tiny number of blind spots. Think about them, then take the test over again. On the other hand, if you scored this high, you probably have a good libertarian objection to my suggested libertarian answer. I do. So I think you are wrong, sir. So, 155. Curious how everyone else did, but I got something really funny to tell you about this test. Well, let me keep on this page here. I remember the first time I took this, because again, I was calling myself the token moderate over at the Radical Caucus, and somebody suggested I take this test. Anyone want to guess what I scored? I'd like to hear your guesses of what I scored when I joined the Radical Caucus before I was an anarcho-capitalist. About 2 months before I became an anarchist. So I became an anarchist in July of 2015. I think I joined the Radical Caucus in March 2015. So Diana guesses a 95, or you got a 95. Not sure if that was the guess or what you got. Okay, but I'll... Okay. Okay, I remember what I got. I got an 80. I got an 80 the first time I took this. What the hell happened to me? So, yeah. So, 51 through 90, I was a medium core libertarian, perhaps self-consciously so. And what's funny, I was very self-conscious about it because I knew I was in amongst a bunch of radicals, and I'm like, I'm the token moderate. Your friends probably encourage you to quit talking about your views so much. Yes, they still did, even though I was an 80. But now, my friends, I think I chased all those friends off. So, I'm curious about something here. I'm trying to... Oh, I'm in the wrong screen. I'm trying to click on my damn anything. I know IPR has since been sold, and I'm not a writer there anymore. I don't do anything. Error established. Well, I guess that I wonder if they're no longer existing. Era established, because I was trying to figure out when I first joined the Radical Caucus, because I would have looked up pompous ass on IPR, and I can't go back to look at my last post, because remember I told you I was deleting all my posts for a while. So all of my early posts at the Radical Caucus are all gone, and it's too bad because I was such a moderate. I don't know what happened to me. Oh my God. Oh. I remember my husband figured out I was an anarchist before I did. We were laying in bed one night. Daniel Hayes still laughs about this. Daniel and Hayes and I weren't lying in bed. My husband and I were. And he was like, so you're an anarchist now, aren't you? And I'm like, no! But I was. I just didn't want to admit it yet. Yes, I was exposed to extremist content on Facebook. Okay, everyone. Well, I thought that was fun. Oh, you cached it? How do you do that? Look up pompous ass. In quotes. Look up pompous ass and tell me when I made that post to Bob Capozzi. I think it was March 2015. My memory's usually pretty good for stuff like that. But yeah, Warren Weilich sold IPR about 9 months ago, and I stopped participating. All right, everyone. So, yeah, I think that's it for tonight. Tomorrow, I will be doing another RCB demonstration, and Diana needs to remind me we're going to talk about webinar mode. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. And maybe we'll look at some of those political scores tomorrow, too, if you guys post them on my personal page. So it was fun. I need to do some minutes, I think, tonight. I've got a bunch of shit to do, but I need to catch up on minutes. I'm so behind. And when I get behind, then I get really procrastination-y. So, all right, everyone. I hope you have an awesome night. And I will see you guys later. Toodles.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.